How
Hi,
goes it, Chris?
good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for willing to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's gonna be exciting stuff. So, but yeah, how's the day?
Oh, it's good. I'm in the Minneapolis area.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm down here in Houston, Texas. We're getting a ton of rain. It just had a hurricane, and now we still getting more water. So I'm like, okay, we're enough of the water, man.
Yep. Also, before getting to Genshin, I can just jump around a little bit with questions and all that.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
So, is there a special story of how you got into SAG?
So I'm actually non-union,
Okay.
and to me, and everybody's gonna have like their own, and I'm sure you've, heard everybody has their own stories and stuff. But I think for me, being non-union is gonna be the best, because to me, it's like majority of the jobs are gonna be non-union anyways. So that's how I make my living, is doing non-union. And I had thought about doing maybe FICOR or something like that, but and I do audition for SAG roles and things like that, but nothing's really come to where I would have to join. So I'm like, well, if I don't have to join, then why even bother, and I've talked to a lot of people who are in the union and out of the union, and I'm like, you know what? Just for me and my personal business, I think it just works without just being non-union because most of the jobs I get are non-union anyways.
Okay. Was there not ever any aspiration to move to LA then for you?
For about 5 minutes, I was thinking about moving to LA, simply for the fact, you get the bigger jobs and stuff like that out there. But I was thinking, I was like, I was looking at places to live, and there was this shack. I mean, literally a shack,
Yeah.
and it was like $750,000. And I was like, and then the pandemic happened. And so now it didn't matter where you lived, you had to go out. You had to do remote. And so now me moving out to LA, I think is probably never going to happen simply for the fact that you know we spend us as voice actors spend all this time and energy trying to make sure that our audio sounds pristine in the booth. Um, that we could record anywhere,
Yeah.
and which is really really nice. Now sometimes they want everybody in the booth to get the same sound because even though your audio is amazing, everybody's got different mics and each mic sounds different on different people's voices. So I get that, so that's but I like, to me, I like being remote. I mean, it would be real nice to go into a studio, but the closest studio for any big productions is going to be Dallas, and that's 4 hours from here. So it'd be nice to be with Crunchyroll, but I don't want to drive 4 hours a week one way, So
Hmm. Well, I
yeah.
was gonna ask next too. Are you much of a anime fan in general, or?
Yeah, yeah. Ever since, so my sister-in-law is huge anime fan. So I was never, I mean, I wasn't opposed to it. I just had never grown up with it, never saw it. My brother, he's 5.5 years younger. He was the one that was really into the anime. But since she came in, she started showing me some of these movies, and like Belle. I had seen that, a couple months ago or last year, and I was like, wow, this is like some top tier stuff. And then started getting on to Attack on Titan and binge that. My brother was like, "You need to watch this," and I'm like, "What is this?" And I watched the whole thing in like 3 days. So it's like, so I'd never before. I was never really into anime when I was younger, but now it's like the stories are really, really good. Even some of the older stuff is really, really good. So yeah, I definitely enjoy it for sure.
Was it similar with like games too, or not as much like video
I've
games?
always, yeah, I've always been a gamer. I basically started because I didn't have like, you know, a super bougie growing up. So my first was a Sega Genesis, and we played, Sonic the Hedgehog and all of that. Um, and then just kind of grew up from there, playing, Crash Bandicoot, and then just going up. Um, we were playing just recently, just finished up Horizon Zero Dawn, the second one,
Yep.
which is really, really, really good. So yeah, me and my wife are gamers, but we're not, the streaming gamers. I would say we're more avid gamers. So it's like, when I was playing Breath of the Wild and then Tears of the Kingdom, I couldn't put that down.
Yeah.
That was a really good one. But yeah, I mean, we're not super hardcore, but we definitely enjoy our games for sure.
So was it a like a very special audition when Genshin came up for you?
It was interesting. I had no idea what I was auditioning for. Everything was code named. The character was code named. There was no picture. It just kind of gave a brief backstory of this character, and a lot of details were left out. Obviously, for specific to keep it under wraps. But it was code named. The character was code named, so I had no idea. I didn't even know it was a video game. So I'm like, well, I'll just do the audition, send it off, and then leave it be. And so I did, and I didn't hear back until maybe 3 weeks later. And they're like, "Hey, can we get Nathan to audition again?" And expect you sometimes you hear the callbacks, and but this apparently wasn't a callback. They said, "Hey, can we get him to do it more like this instead?" And I'm like, "Okay, sure," So I did it like that. And then they came back a third time and they're like, "Okay, we liked that audition. Can he do it this way now?" And I'm like, "What is going on?" Like, I have no clue what kind of production this is and why and so I told my agent, I was like, "Hey, do you want me or do you want to tell them, that we can do a directed audition if they want?" So I'm trying to figure out what's happening. So I'm like, okay, maybe is the performance bad? So I got with my gaming and animation coach and I was like, "Hey, let's go over this. Let's just do this audition real quick." And then they came back a fourth time and they're like, "Hey, can Nathan do this last line like this?" And at this point, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, why do y'all keep coming back? It's like, and they don't want to do a directed audition. So I'm still having no clue what's going on, what this is for. So we did it again. And I think that was Friday. That it was a couple Fridays ago. And then on Sunday, they're like, "Yeah, we'd like to use Nathan for the voice." And I'm like, "Okay, great. I still don't know what this is for." And I didn't know what it was up until a couple of days before we actually started recording some of the lines. And all it said was impact. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I'm kind of putting two and two together and I'm like, hold on. So I'm looking at, then I get a picture of the character, Ororon, and I'm trying to figure out, okay. So then once I put two and two together, I realized it was Genshin Impact. And then I started asking some questions and I was like, oh, okay. And then found out my sister-in-law plays. And before, I'd kind of briefly heard of Genshin Impact, but I wasn't, I had never played it before. I didn't know what the game was about. And then I started looking into it. My sister-in-law plays, and a lot of my friends have played before. And I'm like, man, where was this game when I was growing up? So it's really cool. So now I've been playing it for a little while.
Well, it is interesting too that like looking at his character, you would think that it wouldn't match the vocal type that you normally get.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and I have to be careful what I say. Because there's really not much we know about the character from the trailer. Always
Right.
just rarely, just and for a second when I saw that I was like, man, that's all you're gonna get me. Um, but yeah, so the character isn't this particular voice. I do change it just ever so slightly to match his personality. But that's pretty much all I can say about that.
Okay.
So yeah,
Is
but
it is it is it hard for you to relate to him, or is it more just like playing a character?
I relate to him in some aspects. Not a lot, but definitely there's certain parts of his personality, at least from his backstory and the things and the people that he interacts with. I do relate to him in some way. I know a few other people that are more like him, but yeah, I would think so. But now that's the parts that I don't relate to him with. That's where the acting is going to have to come into play, and you know, my biggest thing is the fans are really the people who have played this game from the beginning have invested their time and effort and money and everything in there. And so my biggest thing is, I don't want to disappoint them with the performance. I don't want the performance to be distracting. So, I think, after 4 auditions, I think we've got it down. I hope. So we'll see. We'll see what they say. So, what can you do?
What did you think when you saw his design finally?
I loved his color. Oh, now I can't even think of the word. But all of his colors on, his cape and his clothes and everything. And I was like, because I'm a huge fan of green anyways. But when I saw his color palette, I was like, whoa, now that's cool. And then seeing the colored eyes and everything, I was like, okay, that's even cooler. I like that a lot. And it wasn't just your typical, standard colors. To me, it looks like what green and red or teal and red or something or pink, depending on who's drawing it. But yeah, it's really cool. And then seeing some of the people who've actually started drawing him, I'm like, wow, there's some very talented people out here. So it's amazing to see what people are coming up with.
Yeah, I think he definitely stands out in terms of like playable characters in Genshin that no other male character looks like him.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I noticed too, is, everybody was talking about having a tall guy and everything, and looking at these other characters, they're like these cutesy characters, and this guy is, he seems to be more mysterious and things like that. So it'll be really interesting to see how his story progresses through the game. It'll be nice.
But I know that you just recently started playing it too.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm like level. I just hit adventure level 9, so I'm getting up there. No, so well, yeah, because like my sister-in-law and a friend of mine, she plays, and I'm asking them like, "Hey, what is this? Why is this happening?" So I'm really starting to get the hang of, what all of these things are, starting to learn the names of things, um, because I feel like, well, if I'm going to be voicing a character in this game, I better know what's in it, and I better know what I'm talking about. So do more is mostly research. It's a lot of fun. I'm having a great time playing it. It's kind of right up my alley, anyways. Open world action adventure type games. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see once more updates come out, more things are happening, and then I can start leveling up and getting to where I'm supposed to be. It'll be a lot of fun.
Which characters in it do you like the most then?
So right now, I really only have four. I've got Amber the Traveler, Lisa, and then Kai. I've only got those guys right now. But I like Kai a lot simply for the fact that he is a sword guy. So my style of combat is always right up in your face. You know, Amber's good, but the only reason I don't like playing her is just because she's a bow and arrow character. That's my
Oh,
wife. My wife is, I'm gonna stand way up here and I'm gonna fire you from afar, but I'm always in their face. So the Traveler and him, I like to play simply for the fact that he's got really cool powers. He's got ice and then or cryo, and see, trying to learn that too. And then just the fact that they've got swords, so I like to fight, hand to hand up close. To my detriment, many times, but
mhm.
it is what it is.
Are you friends with any of the other like cast members in the game or?
I've and with voice acting, the thing is we're all so isolated all the time. So really, you
Mhm.
only see them on social media. So usually when I go to conferences, I'll be able to see them. I haven't really talked to many of them. I've been chatting here and there with them, but I think now that we're starting to get into the game and we're going to start recording and everything, I'll probably reach out more to them and then seeing if any of them are going to VO Atlanta this year. I'll be going to that one. Maybe I can catch up with them there because that's really the only time that we really can get interaction face to face.
Mhm. I'm
Yep.
sure you've noticed that the like fandom response to his character has already been really positive.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm seeing both ends, and so what I try to do is just let them talk. Let them, let the fan base have a say, because what a lot of what they say is how I'm going to bring the character out. Because a
Mhm.
lot of times, I'm seeing certain people are saying this and they want this out of this character, or they want this out of him, or they want this out of him. So I want to make sure that we're being true to the game, but also being true to the needs of the players too, because without the players there is no game, and without the game there is no us. There is no voice actors to voice the game. So I want to find that happy middle, for when when we start really recording, because we've already recorded a few lines already, but we're gonna have some more recording sessions down the road.
Do you think you would ever cosplay as him for anything?
I have cosplayed, but I just might have to. I just might have to. We'll see, and not say anything. Um, who knows? Who knows? TBD. TBD. We'll see.
I suppose that this is the like Genshin is the most recent safe thing that you can talk about that you're part of.
Yeah. So other than saying that I am playing him, there's really not much I can say other than there's a lot of exciting things coming. Um, and that's about it. That's all I can say. I want to say more because everybody is so excited. I love seeing the theories, specifically with Ororon standing next to Capitano, and why people think that is, and what tribe he's from, and they're looking at his markings on his hands and his arms and his face, and they're coming up with different theories, and it's really fun to see where people are coming up with stuff. And um, but I think overall, I think they're going to be very pleased, and very excited for what this character has coming. It's going to be fun. I hope.
Is there anything that you want to say to his fan base?
Um, yeah, I mean, hearing a lot of the stuff recently that's been going on with Hoyoverse, and the way they're making their characters and stuff. My thing is, do what you feel is right. And my thing is, I never want to hinder what people think is correct, what people think is right, and I've seen a lot of positive responses to the changes that they want to have made. But I've also seen some negative responses to changes that have been made. And I think that if changes wants to be made, I think doing it in a positive way. I've seen some of the players and even some voice actors send very kindly worded yet firm emails, which I'm all for that. If you want to make change, go for it, but do it in a way that's respectful and polite, and not bash some of the voice actors. I mean, I've seen there was some genuine questions that I've received, and people are like, "Oh, stop bullying the voice actors." And if it's a genuine question, I'm all for answering those kinds of questions. But some people, if they're just gonna, and I haven't had any negative responses really, which is nice. Um, but yeah, if it's a negative response, it's probably not going to get much change. It's probably just going to get people irritated.
Right.
So, with all that said, I really appreciate the positive remarks and comments from a lot of people, especially with the changes that they want to make.
Well, the way that I end every interview is asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
Um, I want my legacy to be behind him. I want Oron to be out front, to where I'm not distracting from him, and I want people to love this character. I want people to appreciate this character, have him in your team when he's available to play. Because I think big stuff is going to happen. Big fun things are going to happen. But like I said, we want it about the character, and like I said, I don't want to be a distraction from him.
Well, thanks. I'm glad that we got to do this.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. I mean, it's been an awesome, privilege to talk with you. And I mean, I've seen some of your work, and you interview a ton of people. So thank you for having me on. It's an honor.
Thanks. Yeah, I hope you have a good rest of your day then.
Yeah, same to you. Have a good one, Chris.